Hello, well-being. Welcome back to the quiet edge of the universe. As always, please only listen when it is safe for you to rest. Never while driving or doing anything that requires your full attention. Tonight, just let yourself settle in. Let your body find the surface beneath it. And let the day loosen its grip. Tonight, we slow everything down so that your body can remember its blueprint of perfect health, its evolutionary potential, and the deep, deep restoration that comes with sleep. This hypnotic bedtime story is for the founders, the rebels, the overthinkers, the curious ones, the ones who may have been told that they were too much, too intense, too different, too early, too disruptive. The ones whose very nature changes the chemistry of every room they enter. This ancient story is for you. Before we get started, let's begin with some simple breath work together. Start by taking a 4-second inhale. I'll keep count. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold your breath out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold your breath out. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Very good. And as you relax, go ahead and cast that breath work deep into the sea of your unconscious and just trust yourself to follow along with this story exactly as you are. In this ancient story, there are no birds yet, no trees, no whales, no wolves, no people standing under the sky wondering what any of this means. No one anywhere on earth has ever even taken a breath because there is almost no oxygen here yet, and lungs just simply don't exist. This is the early earth it is wild. Volcanoes are active. The oceans are full of dissolved iron. The atmosphere is mostly carbon dioxide and methane, with almost none of the free oxygen that your beautiful body depends on now. There's no grass, no forests, no flowers, just rock and ocean, chemistry, heat, light, and tiny forms of life doing ancient things. An overhead explorer, the sun, a real star, the sun born like other stars from a cloud of gas and dust. It's now deep in the long work of fusion, and its core, hydrogen, is being fused into helium, releasing energy that will eventually make its way outward as light. And that matters because this whole story begins there. But the light does not leave the sun cleanly, not at all. Inside the sun, energy gets knocked around constantly. Photons are absorbed, re-emitted, and scattered again, jostled through dense plasma in a process called radiative diffusion. So the light that you and I experience as simple sunlight has already lived a very complicated life before it ever reaches space, before it ever reaches your eyes. And I love that, and I bet you do too. But eventually, one packet of solar energy reaches the photosphere and slips free. A photon, not a hero or a pilgrim, just a precise unit of radiance born from pressure. It crosses interplanetary space in a little over 8 minutes. 8 minutes from star to planet. 8 minutes from the pressure heart of the sun to the surface of a world that does not yet know it is preparing for breath. And then it arrives here at a warm, shallow margin of the Archean Sea. The Archean lasted from about 4 to 2.5 billion years ago, and this was not yet a breathable world. The atmosphere held almost no free oxygen. The seas were rich in dissolved iron, and volcanic activity was intense. And life existed only in microbial form. In the shallow waters, microbes built mats, and in some places, these layered structures are still preserved in the rock record as stromatolites. Exactly when photosynthesis first evolved here with oxygen is still debated. But by the late Archean, something extraordinary was clearly underway. Here in the mineral-rich water spread thin over ancient rock, a blue-green microbial mat lies pressed close to the shallows like velvet laid across stone. These are cyanobacteria, not plants, not algae, though they were once misnamed that way. They're bacteria, ancient prokaryotic cells without nuclei, small enough to be missed entirely, and consequential enough to alter the fate of a planet. Cyanobacteria are not impressive in a mammalian way. They have no eyes, no furs, no songs. There's nothing really, cinematic about them at all. And still, inside their membranes, they carry an astonishing set of tools for catching light and putting it to work. First, the pigments catch the photon from the sun, from outer space, right? Then, reaction centers move that energy where it needs to go exactly. And then comes this fancy little system called Photosystem 2. It's one of the strangest and most important molecular machines on Earth. It uses light to build enough force to actually pull electrons from water, which is a much harder trick than it sounds. Water, that plain old molecule, that faithful molecule, that molecule in your tears, your blood, your cells. The photon reaches the microbial mat and slips into the shallow water where pigments inside the cyanobacteria catch its energy and begin passing it inward. That excitation moves through the system until charge separates, and inside the oxygen evolving complex, a cluster of manganese, calcium, and oxygen atoms builds enough oxidative force to split water itself. And then it happens. These electrons are harvested, protons are released, and molecular oxygen appears. It's a small chemical exhale, a tiny, dangerous announcement, a new kind of trouble in a world that was built for older conditions. And now, explorer, this is where the story becomes fierce. Because the old Earth does not experience oxygen as a blessing. It experiences oxygen as a problem, as a threat, a highly reactive molecule entering a world that has been built chemically and biologically for something else. The ancient seas at that time are full of dissolved iron. And oxygen is ravenous. It does not float upward politely towards some future blue sky. Not yet. Much like the photons and the energy within the sun and the nuclear fusion and all of that business we already talked about. First, it collides. It oxidizes iron, turning invisible chemistry into rust. This ferric forms precipitate, and iron oxides settle downward in red and dark bands, layer upon layer. A literal record of oxygen reacting with the sea itself. And still, the cyanobacteria continue. Not because they are brave or noble, not because they know there will one day be hawks or orchids or saxophones or observatories, grief, devotion, or you lying here in the dark listening to a story about them. They continue because this is what they do. This is what their architecture allows. And this is the reaction they are built to run under sunlight. doesn't it make you wonder what your architecture allows? Doesn't it make you wonder what reactions you were built for? It does me. Photon, pigment, reaction center, water split, oxygen released, again. The ocean grabs it, again. The iron drinks it down, again. Photon, pigment, reaction center, water split, oxygen released, again and again and again. Relax. For a very, very long time, the earth keeps swallowing the evidence. The sea binds it, the crust buries it. The old world tries to absorb a chemistry change without becoming something new. And it is not only rocks and oceans that resist. That is what gives this story its depth and heart. By now, most life on Earth has been living in a world with almost no free oxygen. Entire ways of being alive have been built around that chemistry. Ancient anaerobes have membranes, proteins, enzymes, and metabolic pathways that make sense in that older world. So when oxygen starts showing up, it does not feel like fresh possibility. It feels dangerous. It can damage lipids in membranes. It can alter proteins. It can disrupt membranes and enzymes, and it can threaten DNA. What will one day make complex life like you and me possible first arrives as stress, as pressure, as friction. That is what gives this story its heartbreak. The old world is not wrong. It is adapted. Life had become beautiful inside one chemistry. Real coherence had formed there. The atmosphere had its own logic. The metabolisms had their place. The old arrangements worked until they didn't. And still, in the shallow water beneath a younger sun, these tiny blue-green bacteria keep running the reaction. They keep taking light and doing the same wild thing over and over. They keep pulling electrons from water. They keep releasing oxygen. They keep introducing a future the old world does not know how to welcome yet. This is where the friction matters the most. Not as decoration, not as a side effect, but as the whole point. Relax. Because resistance is not always proof that something is wrong. Sometimes resistance is just what happens when the future brushes against a system still organized around the past. Sometimes friction is the first visible sign that real change is underway. The cyanobacteria do not stop because the world reacts. They just keep going, photon after photon, reaction after reaction, for spans of time so vast that the chemistry of a planet begins to bend around their persistence. And that is how worlds change. That's how we all change. Not always in one dramatic moment, but through one small reaction happening over and over until the old world can no longer contain it. At first, Earth keeps hiding the change. The iron binds the oxygen. The oceans swallow the evidence. The record gets laid down in Earth itself, in layer after layer of iron-rich rock. But those hiding places do not last forever. The iron can bind only so much. The oceans can absorb only so much. The crust can bury only so much before the chemistry starts remaining visible. Something new. And I love that. And then slowly, irreversibly, the threshold arrives, like so many thresholds do. Oxygen had likely been produced in local settings for a long time before this. But now it begins to accumulate in the atmosphere little by little, because the planet is finally running out of ways to hide it. And once that happens, the chemistry of the air and sea starts to change. And as that chemistry changes, so does what life on Earth can eventually become. This is sparking evolution. Oxygen, a waste product, becomes atmosphere. A microbial habit becomes sky. A tiny local reaction becomes one of the great turning points in the history of life. This, explorers, is crafting coherence on the scale of a world. It's not avoiding chaos. It's not escaping friction or pressure or entropy. It's actually staying with it long enough for a larger order to form. The early Earth had coherence, real coherence. But it was coherence for an earlier time. And then the chemistry changed. Then the friction came. Then the thresholds came. And through immense spans of time, a deeper coherence was crafted. One that was spacious enough to support new metabolisms, new energies, new possibilities, and eventually forms of life that would have been impossible in the older world. And that is how evolution sparks. Not because life prefers comfort, because life keeps finding more spacious ways to organize itself. Because pressure reveals what can hold. Because friction shows where the old form has reached its limit. Because chaos, touched long enough by living intelligence, can be woven into coherence. And if this doesn't fascinate your mind, well-beings, I don't know what will, because the idea of pushing the boundaries of what is possible for humans and life itself has fascinated explorers from the beginning. And perhaps this is why this ancient story keeps reaching into human life. Perhaps some part of you already recognizes the pattern. A new truth can enter, and an old structure can react, and we can let it. A deeper breath can enter, and an older identity may tighten. A more coherent future touches the edges of a life built for older terms, and at first, it may not feel like relief. It might feel reactive. It can feel like disturbance. Though not everything that disrupts your old chemistry is your enemy. Some things arrive to end an era. Some transformations first appear as incompatibility. Some futures first enter a system as stress and entropy. And can you stay present long enough to discover that the friction is not interrupting the transformation, but revealing exactly where transformation is already underway? You do not have to answer that now. Your body may already be translating this ancient pattern in its own brilliant way. Let it. Because tonight, this story does not end in the sea. It reaches into you. The long oxygenation of Earth changed the metabolic possibilities of life. Later, much later, cells capable of using oxygen efficiently would help build a more energetically extravagant biosphere. And now here you are, lying quietly in the dark, inside a body whose tissues depend on that old atmospheric revolution. You're part of it all. Behind your closed eyes, photons still begin the story of seeing. In your blood, oxygen still travels with elegant purpose. And in your mitochondria, those tiny intracellular descendants of another astonishing evolutionary threshold, oxygen serves as the final electron acceptor, helping drive the production of ATP, the energy currency that your cells spend so lavishly and so quietly, simply for your very existence. That, my explorers, is the intimacy of the cosmos. A star, a sea, a bacterium, a membrane, an atmosphere, a mitochondrion, and a sleeping human body. The cosmos becomes personal exactly like this. First as pressure, then as light, then as chemistry, then as atmosphere, then as metabolism, then as you. And who knows what's next? That's the wonder and awe of it all. And maybe something softens when you realize your body is not separate from these great reorganizing forces. Your body can, and it does, remember its blueprint of perfect health. Let it. Your body carries a gorgeous and elegant evolutionary blueprint for vitality and possibility. Your body can, and it does, and it will easily return to its natural state of coherence. Every cell in your body can remember the intelligence that built the stars. Now I want you to go ahead and let that scale widen again as you imagine yourself lying on a warm hillside beneath a dark, clear sky. The ground is steady beneath you, and the air is gentle and comforting against your skin. And of course, it's the absolute perfect temperature. Above you, the Milky Way arcs like a long river of powdered light, and somewhere beneath the luminous breadth lives the star whose photons once entered ancient oceans and helped set this whole story in motion. And the wonder of it all is that you are breathing the inheritance of microbial revolutions. That is not metaphor. That is atmosphere. You are resting inside the long consequence of tiny cells running a reaction under sunlight for ages beyond imagination. What a thing for you to realize in the dark. What a thing for you to feel in your very own chest. Breathing in, breathing out. Again, breathing in and breathing out. What a long, long journey that breath has taken. What a fierce and beautiful inheritance rests inside something as simple as the rise and fall of your ribs. And now that your mind has been given something worthy to admire, it can loosen. Not because it has been bored, but because it has been met, because it has been given scale, because it has been given a real signal and invited all the way inside it. You do not have to solve the planet tonight. You don't have to carry the sun. You don't have to force a future into being. It's already happening. Some transformations are already underway beneath the threshold of conscious effort. Some coherences are already forming in the dark, aren't they? And now a soft current gathers beneath you, as though the atmosphere itself had become a gentle cradle. And you are carried by it, not upward in urgency, gently, easily, effortlessly, as though the breathing planet were holding you in the long success of life's patient experiments. Why don't you go ahead and just allow your jaw to soften? Your tongue can rest easily. Relax. The muscles around your eyes can loosen, and you can allow your eyelids to become very heavy. Relax. Your forehead begins to smooth. Your shoulders can drop. Your chest can release from the day. Your belly softens deeply. Relax. Your hips sink into the surface beneath you. Your hands become warm and heavy. Relax. Your legs lengthen into rest. And every cell, every fiber, every molecule, every organ, tissue of your being loosens, relaxes, lets go, and you can trust yourself. Relax. As your body enjoys this deeper settling, you can follow a very simple descent. Drifting beautifully. 9, deeper and deeper and deeper into comfort. 8, your breath is smooth and rhythmic. Relax. Allow deep sleep to just simply come. 7, your mind is already beginning to become so very quiet now. 6, your body is remembering how to let go. 5, every muscle easier and easier to simply relax. 4, every thought less urgent. Relax. Even the edges of your brain. Relax. deeper and deeper. 3. Your coherent brain and body are enjoying this natural deepening and restoration. Relax. 2. Deeper and deeper now. 1. Deeply relax. Completely relax. Held in elegant and gentle restoration. And perhaps below thought, below planning, below effort, your body is still doing what bodies have always done so beautifully. Regulating, repairing, organizing, and weaving chaos into coherence, crafting coherence itself, quietly, naturally, easily, effortlessly, even greater than is possible for your imagination. Let it be easy for you to relax and notice your coherent brain living this. Your physiology of excellence makes this easy and effortless. And now that there is nothing more for you to do, the sun has already done its work. The sea has already done its work. The cyanobacteria have already done their patient work. The atmosphere holds you. The earth holds you. Your body knows what to do. And while you sleep, your brain intelligently clears what it no longer needs. And it's a beautiful, healthy, elegant cleanup process. Let it. Your nervous system settles into wiser, restorative rhythms. Let it. Your cells restore. Your chemistry balances, even greater than it ever has before. Let it. Your body remembers how to regulate and how to become new. Let it. Sleep now, well-being. The cosmos favors the well-rested.